What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I must be 100% honest with you guys and admit that the first quarter of 2014 in boxing, as far as I'm concerned, has been pretty dry. I don't recall watching any fights that just really had me like wowed, or I was just like, whoa, that was a great fucking fight, and I was thoroughly entertained. As far as 2014, just been a slow year for boxing so far. So I can't wait till at least the Angulo Canelo fight. I think that'll be a good one, and hopefully it's a pay-per-view fight. So hopefully we see some good fights. I like watching Figueroa last year. He had to fight with Arakawa, and that was a potential fight of the year. It was a great fight. He's coming off of a hand injury, so that should be a good one. Then Canelo and Angulo both coming off losses. Um, we were also supposed to get some fights, I think, in February. That didn't happen. The fight with Johnny Gonzalez and Abner Mares, that was supposed to happen, that rematch, but Abner Mares got injured and then he pulled out of the fight entirely. And we're waiting to hear his next move, who he'll be battling next. So, needless to say, boxing just hasn't been so great yet. And I'm not like packing it in and saying it's going to be a bad year because it's still early. It's just been a slow start for me. And I've watched everything from like Friday night fights and everything to this. Even the Victor Ortiz Luis Colazo, that was a shocking upset, but it wasn't much of a fight. I mean, it was only 2 rounds, and then Victor Ortiz quit or was knocked out, couldn't get up, whatever the situation was. But there was no, it wasn't like Josecito Lopez and Ortiz or Berto and Ortiz. It was Victor Ortiz coming out overly anxious and getting caught and not getting back up in the second round. So it ended early. Same thing with Gennady Golovkin. Pretty one-sided. His fight with Adama. Not much action there. Then you had Mikey Garcia. Garcia's opponent, Borgos, felt Garcia's accuracy and his power, became hesitant, and he was just content surviving. So to me, boxing has just been dull. And like I said, I watched everything from ESPN to HBO to Showtime. I haven't seen that many great fights in 2014. So I'm hoping that changes and we get some good fights. I think once we hit March, we're well on the way because you got Canelo, you got the Pacquiao Bradley rematch, you got whoever the fuck Mayweather's fighting, you got Miguel Cotto, Sergio Martinez, and it's gonna come in rapid succession with a couple fights in between those. But those are the big fights. Boom, 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 boom. I was watching UFC tonight, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. Leave a comment. Let me know if it is just me. But for some reason, Ronda Rousey, she's kind of sexy to me. And I don't know why. Like, not sexy in the Selma Hayek, Halle Berry traditional sense. I guess you could say she's not like, oh, she's just fine. But something about her is sexy. And she's like the borderline between, like, I wouldn't want any more because she's in good shape. She has like a six pack and, you know what I mean, real tough kind of a tough look. That's like the limit. Like anything else would be just like a fucking dude. You know what I mean? Like if it would be like a butch. So I don't know what it is about her, but something about her is kind of sexy to me. So congratulations on her victory. Back to boxing. I wanted to do something a little bit different, and it's called Ego Sleeper Hits. And really, what that is I want to shed some light, give you guys my perspective on some of the less talked about fights. And we all are happy for Sergio and Miguel Cotto. I mean, obviously, I want to see it. Bradley, Pacquiao. But these fighters have been around the game. They've proven their worth, and we are expecting good things, and they get a lot of press just based on who they are. However, there's a lot of great fights on paper that are coming up, and hopefully they live up to their paper stats, stat for stat. And I want to talk about some of those more and more. Talk about some of those little known fights, those lesser fights that people aren't necessarily jumping up and down for joy with, kind of like a Pacquiao fight or a Cotto's next fight. So I figured what better way to introduce this segment than to talk about Deontay Wilder and Malik Scott. This is a great fight, and I could tell who's a casual fan and who's more like really about this. And if you're a real boxing fan, you should be excited for this fight. I mean, it's been years since the heavyweight division has just been stacked, or you had even really anyone new that looked like they had the potential to do anything. You also have the Klitschko, who's dabbling in the politics even more so. They got a lot of stuff going on in Ukraine, so he's handling that. Boxing for at least one of the Klitschkos is not necessarily his priority anymore. So it's kind of the passing of the torch. They've been dominant for so long. Heavyweight division looks like we have some more players who are kind of trying to make their own path. And this is the fight that's going to take place in Puerto Rico on the Danny Garcia Mauricio Herrera undercard. And I absolutely love it. I think it's a good fight. You can complain and complain about fighters not stepping up, but when they do step up, you got to give them credit. So Deontay Wilder, he's a fighter who's exciting, entertaining, but to be perfectly honest, his resume is not deep. It's not stacked. We know he went to the Olympics and got bronze. That's why they call him the Bronze Bomber. We know he's a big puncher, but you could be everything like in the world, all that in a bag of chips, but it really matters on a pro level when you start fighting those upper level fighters, fighters with experience, fighters who can take a punch, fighters who can dish out a punch. That's going to be the ultimate determining factor. There's a lot of fighters who, you know what I mean, they're D or C level fighters, and that's really their cap. That's their salary cap. They're not going to go much higher than that. They're not going to be able to cross over like a Pacquiao and become an international superstar or an elite fighter who just walks through people and, you know what I mean, and starts demolishing people. Some people don't have that. It takes very special fighters to compete at this level, at a high level, and stay on top and have respectable resumes. You know what I mean? So guys like Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., I mean, I give him all the credit in the world because it's guys like that who you could say early in his career he fought some tomato cans in Mexico or something. Cool, but you don't fight over 100 fucking people and they're all just bums. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's not the case. You know there's some big punchers in there, some good boxers, some people with amateur credentials, etc. So, anytime a fighter steps up in competition, I give him props. And for Deontay Wilder, I think this is a step up in competition. If you look at his resume, like I said, it's not the deepest. Deontay Wilder. His last fight was with Nikolai Furtha, and that was a good fight to see how he would handle a different style. Because for the first time in a while that I can remember in the Deontay Wilder fight, Furtha came at him. In round one, he almost like, when the bell rang, he almost charged him and ran at him. Kind of like Marcos Maidana did to Adrian Broner. He just was all over him, and it ended up backfiring. But if you watch that fight, I don't think Deontay Wilder was expecting that because, again, he's a big dude, 6'7", big, kind of intimidating look to him, you know what I mean? And most fighters, especially at a heavyweight, knowing one punch can change everything, most people aren't going to just come at someone who's looking like they're a serious puncher. Like, when's the last person you've seen that just ran at Gennady Golovkin in the first round? Like, charge, like Braveheart or something, you know what I mean? Like, they're charging him. So that was a good look for Furtha. Ultimately, it didn't work out, but it was good for me as a viewer because I like to see these fighters pitted against something that's foreign to them, to see how they measure up and how they deal with that. And look at Adrian Broner. He moved up in weight against a power puncher who bum rushed him, and you could tell he wasn't prepared for that. He had no answer for that, and it showed you. And that set the whole tone to the fucking game, or to the whole fight. Kind of like the Super Bowl this year. Look at the Denver Broncos, Seattle Seahawks. The very first play was a safety. They kicked off the ball and got a safety, and that really set the tone. It was just bad luck after bad luck after bad luck for the Broncos. So, the same thing with Adrian Broner. And one thing that I liked about Deontay Wilder is he stayed composed, and even though it looked like he got wobbled for a quick second, kind of like if you watch Keith Thurman versus Jesus Soto Caras caught Keith Thurman, and he wobbled him a little bit. And it was good to see Keith Thurman as well as Deontay Wilder battle that early and get themselves back in the fight. And that's exactly what Deontay Wilder did. And, I mean, he just started to break down Nikolai Furtha. So, again, I look for those moments to see what a fighter's really made of when they battle something that we're not used to seeing them or a situation we're not used to seeing them in. So that was good for Deontay Wilder. He has a couple other names like Audley Harrison, but I mean, realistically, Deontay Wilder got Audley Harrison at a point after everyone else. David Haye was the first of the big names, I guess you could say, at heavyweight to really TKO Audley Harrison. He wasn't Audley Harrison's first loss, but he was the first guy to, out of the big names, to stop him. And then they fed him to David Price, and David Price bodied him also. And then David Price later himself got bodied by Tony Thompson twice. So, I mean, I don't really hold Audley Harrison up there with the elite level fighters. Like I said, you lost to the dude that got beat by Tony Thompson, who lost to the Klitschko's, or to the Klitschko, easily. It looked like, you know what I mean? Tony Thompson like destroyed David Price, but using Audley Harrison's height, like he's like 6'5.5", I believe, big dude, and he couldn't beat David Price. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just never viewed Audley Harrison, especially at that point in his career, as like a world beater. So that was, I guess, good name for Deontay Wilder's resume, but it didn't really prove much. I mean, you fought a 41-year-old who I think at the time had 6 losses. David Price lost, the David Haye loss, and he had other losses before, and even a KO loss in there from a nobody. So, I mean, Audley Harrison might be chinny. I don't know. I don't consider him a world beater. So, Deontay Wilder, other than that, his resume is not deep. So, Malik Scott is a fight where we're going to see what he's made of. Malik Scott, say what you want about him, but I think he's a good boxer. He's a smart boxer. He has 30-plus fights. Another thing about Malik Scott, he's once beaten. He was undefeated. He fought Derek Chisora and got stopped. It was in a controversial fashion. He was against the ropes, and he got caught with a good overhand chopping right, kind of like Marcos Maidana. It's kind of like the punch Marcos Maidana was landing on Adrian Broner in their fight in December. Derek Chisora caught Malik Scott with that like looping overhand over the top right, and it just clipped him, and he went down. The ref started counting him out. Some people say the count was long, but the ref got to, like, he was like 8, 9, and he started standing up at 9, and then the ref waved it off. So, it's controversial, but it's kind of it's neither here nor there. It's kind of like Lucas Matisse versus Zab Judah. A lot of people say Lucas won, and some people say Zab Judah won because Lucas had a slow start. So it's one of those that could have really went either way. I'm not the ref. I wasn't in the ring. It's one of those that are really questionable. Some stoppages happen. I'm like, that was bullshit. Like the George Groves, that was just complete bullshit. The George Groves Carl Froch, that was a bullshit stoppage. But then there's others that are like, it's questionable, it's debatable. And both cases have a good argument. The Malik Scott, Derek Chisora stoppage, the count was kind of long, but then it looked like he got up no problem on a long count. So, it could have really went either way, and it's up to the judges or the ref's discretion, and the ref seeing whatever he's seen. Sometimes another thing, as a ref, you got 2 men or women in a ring. You're ultimately responsible for their safety and their health, even more so than their corner, because you get to see that first person view vantage point. So maybe the ref seen something in Malik Scott's eyes that suggested that he wasn't fully there or wasn't fully recovered. It's pretty traditional to take that long count. Most fighters get up around 8, but Malik Scott got up at 9, and he paid the price and he lost. So I don't know. Like I said, it's debatable. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think of the loss. Was the Derek Chisora Malik Scott, was it valid? Was it controversial? Was it bullshit? Leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think on that. But either way, he wasn't just knocked out cold, and he lost one time. So still a great fight to me. Deontay Wilder has still a lot to prove. Malik Scott needs to get back in the mix at heavyweight and prove that he deserves to be here. And the Derek Chisora loss was as controversial as people feel it was. And I think it's overall a great fight, and a lot of things will be answered. And again, Deontay Wilder, if he believe, like let's say he beats Malik Scott in a devastating fashion, like he's been beating everybody else, like just stopping him early in the first 3 to 4 rounds or whatever. That's big because again, Malik Scott is once beaten. He's a smart boxer. He's a good boxer, and he could be more of a problem and a puzzle for a lot of fighters, especially a fighter who's not really seasoned at the elite level as a heavyweight in the professional ranks like Deontay Wilder. So if Deontay Wilder just like takes everything he has, this is a guy with 30 plus fights. If he just destroys him, then I mean that's huge. And Deontay Wilder might get a fight with like a Tyson Fury or something next, maybe even a Vladimir Klitschko. But I think they were trying to make the Tyson Fury fight. So let me know what you guys think. I think this is definitely a sleeper hit, a fight that I definitely want to see. Let me know what you guys think of this fight. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.